Oh, um, welcome to the Rusty Shovel podcast. My name is Eric,
I'm Kevin.
and what we're all about. We like comic books, we like movies, we like video games. We watch a lot of TV shows. We even read some manga every now and then. We just really like art in general, and and that's basically the gist of this podcast. And we also appreciate a little bit of political intrigue. That's what we're gonna call it. And we really are. We're very invested in the nuances of art analysis on the internet, as it's a very interesting culture, and it's evolved a lot over the course of time, especially since YouTube has like blown up since 2005. And there's a lot of different YouTubers out there now with a lot of different opinions, lots of very interesting opinions regarding art. And we have quite a few interesting examples of that we will go through. But yeah, so Kevin, what does art mean to you, and like, what are some of your favorite movies and stuff, and like what do they mean to you, man?
Well, in general, like art is just kind of a form of expression. Like as I've gotten more into it and more into writing, I've just realized that like learning about art just means like learning how to better express yourself.
Yeah,
Like getting the tools to like say what you want to say in a clear way. Um, and yeah, some of my favorite art and stuff is just more the stuff that's helped me realize that better. Like the stuff that's had emotional impact and stuff. Um, like Super 8 was one of the first movies that I watched that like it wasn't necessarily an emotional scene, but like it had like a guttural reaction that really made me impassionated to like in the future make stuff like that.
yeah. Super 8 is that's a really good movie. It's directed by J.J. Abrams, and
Yeah.
it came out back in what, like,
Not sure.
2011?
It's not too old.
No, not 2011. That was too far back. But yeah, it's a movie. It's a movie about this group of kids that are young, aspiring filmmakers, and it just, that part of the movie really speaks to me, because of, that's kind of what we're into now, except the movie takes place what, like in the 80s or something. And
Yeah, it takes place in the 80s.
yeah, and they're filming like these very dramatic noir films.
No, you were right. 2011.
Oh, 2011. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and as much as art is like a way to like say what you want to say, it's also a way for uh f- for the people that experience art to be able to
Kinda like-
interpret what
Yeah, and like
the
kind
artist
of,
is trying to say.
yeah, like experience it in their own way and stuff. Like, cause I'm a very like self introspective person, and I'm always thinking sometimes too much.
Yeah.
Anxiety is real fun, but like some of the best art that I've like consumed has helped me understand stuff in ways that I normally wouldn't look at it, which has helped in like that like self introspection, because sometimes when you do that like you get caught in like logic loops where you're just thinking the same thing over and over,
Yeah.
same patterns, but like what like consuming art that makes you think differently, that forces you to look at stuff through a different perspective, can help you kind of escape those things, and sometimes like with self growth or just emotional issues, or sometimes just like things that I'm kind of stuck off on in like my art, like stuff that I'm writing.
Yeah.
It really helps with that stuff. Like it just seeing it through a different lens.
Yeah, and like something that's had like a really big impact on me in recent time is like Kevin knows what I'm talking about. It's a Christopher Nolan film that came out this year. It's called Tenet. It stars John David Washington, Denzel Washington's son, if you didn't know, and Robert Pattinson, and it's a movie about international espionage and time inversion. It's a very complicated movie, and it can be hard to understand on the first watch, but it's one of those movies that it rewards you for watching it more than once because you get to understand the type of story that Christopher Nolan is trying to tell, and you get to also pick up on things that you didn't pick up on that you didn't pick up on the first time you watched it. And like another thing about it is that it's filmed very traditionally, if that's the word for it, where they're not using any insane special effects or anything.
Yeah,
they're
it's
using
very practical.
Yeah, it's very practical, and that's like a signature thing with like Christopher Nolan.
And again, relatively.
Well, relatively, like he has.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, I just mean like.
Oh, like
using the word practical for that movie, like he crashes a real plane and like it's very big scale. But yeah,
like he crashes a plane into an actual like
yeah,
like building, and yeah, it's a movie that changes what movies can be. It's a movie that's very ambitious and doing things above and beyond, and whether or not it succeeds at what it's trying to do is up to a lot of the people that watch it. And it's got a lot of mixed opinions. A lot of people say it's Christopher Nolan's worst movie. Some people think it's a masterpiece. And I think I fall into the camp that I think I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, but it's definitely one of my favorite movies of recent time, and I'd like to come back on that part about like how other people experience art, because art analysis, like I said before, has been a big thing on the internet nowadays, and there's like so many YouTubers like whose like careers are built on analyzing movies and TV shows, and there's lots of ways to do it. There's so many ways that you can interpret movies and art that movie reviewing has become an art form itself at this point.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that just want to turn on the camera and just say like how they feel about a movie. And you don't have to be like a film buff. You don't have to go to the theater just to watch a movie, and you don't have to have all this movie knowledge. It's a lot of the time it's just about like just experiencing what you enjoy and sharing that with other people. But there's another group of people on the internet that like to enforce rules and gatekeep on how people can enjoy content.
Yeah. And it's a super strange like thing, because I initially started getting into movies more because of like unironically like CinemaSins was the first like movie channel I watched. And now like most people in that sphere agree that CinemaSins is not a great channel.
Yeah,
but
at
like
this point, like CinemaSins has become very like self-aware, and the fans know it too, that this isn't like a medium where we're accurately judging movies from.
Yeah, but like for me at the time, like it was the only because I wasn't really looking for it, but I like stumbled upon it, and I just realized I really liked just hearing discussion about movies, even if it was as like vapid
Yeah,
as
as cinema.
like cinema is, you know. And like I stopped watching them once I started finding other channels that were like closer to what I actually wanted. Once I
Yeah.
started figuring that out, you know. But I feel like there's a lot you can get from like art analysis, especially like how much variety of there is like on YouTube. But yeah, there are some people that feel like there's like a very narrow way, like the correct way of doing it.
Yeah,
And it's
there's
very
people that literally say that you're watching movies wrong, or that there's an objective singular standard that you can apply to art, which is, we feel it's very nonsensical, and
yeah, kind of goes against
what art
is
is.
supposed to be. Yeah.
And
And like a common thing from people that believe that there is like an objective thing, they essentially say that like people who claim that it's all subjective, which I don't really think many people are saying art is 100% subjective.
yeah, obviously, and it also depends on what you're talking about. Like, there's so
Exactly.
many different art forms, and there's different.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between art and something that is a craft that
Yeah.
actually means that you're trying to reach.
Achieve a specific goal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
But the thing with movies is that
you're not always sure about what that goal is.
yeah, because it's an extremely complicated process that takes so many steps, and it's a big mixture
And
of
so many people
craft
involved
and
and
art. But the end result, the movie, the film you're watching, is art. You know,
Yeah.
it's not a craft in of itself. It includes craft within it, which is why like there are things you can critique in it objectively, like
Yeah.
certain things, like shot compositions
Yeah.
and certain lighting things.
Yeah.
But like overall, like the moment you give a value judgment to the overall product, you are making a subjective statement.
Yeah, because like what it comes down to is like what you think is good or bad comes down to the individual, and there is no like singular way that you can.
Yeah, there's no
Like-
one standard.
Yeah,
There's
because
like normative standard,
yeah, there's normative standards that most people agree on, like
which is usually what people are referring to when they say like, "Oh, this movie's bad." Like when they're like people
Yeah.
talking about The Room, they're like, "Yeah, it's one of the worst movies that." It's not like objectively the worst movie ever because it's
yeah,
again, it's a subjective thing, but with the normative standards of what most people want from a movie, The Room's kind of shit.
yeah.
You know, like
It's a movie that a lot of people ironically watch because it's very enjoyable if you watch it
In,
like
like, a
through the
comedic
lens
sense.
of, oh, this movie is so bad it's good,
yeah,
like sort of way. But yeah, and with YouTube like blowing up in terms of I guess the film side of YouTube and art analysis and stuff, there's just been a lot of discourse about political agendas in movies and stuff, and it's become a big deal now that there's been a lot of talk on identity politics, like representation in media of minorities and just people who are not very well represented in media, and people find this to be infuriating for some reason, saying when something that they don't agree with politically is in a movie that is a flaw of that movie and not just something that they disagree with politically.
Yeah, it's like I was talking to you before earlier, where it's like I disagree with the politics of like the Dark Knight trilogy. I feel, and I'm not gonna get into it now, but like what that movie's trying to say about like society and stuff, like I just think it's wrong. It goes against like
Yeah.
all my principles. But I'm not gonna say that those movies are bad.
Well, except The Dark Knight Rises, but we'll also
Well,
get
yeah,
to that.
even then, like that movie's still very like competently made. There's
Yeah,
like
it's
issues.
it's a Christopher Nolan movie, so
Yeah, it's like I have issues with the writing, and I feel like the characters aren't nearly as compelling as in the previous two installments.
yeah.
And the politics are way more incoherent. Like in the previous two movies, like Nolan clearly has things to say, and it's pretty
Yeah.
straightforward. But in that movie, I feel like there's contradictions and it's like things, and that could be just an assessment of his ideology, and it just being self-contradictory, or just a failure in the movie where he didn't really articulate it as well as he did in the previous two. But in the end, like my take on like the politics of the movie, I feel like I can separate that from whether I find it an enjoyable movie or if I think it's a well done movie.
Yeah.
And it's weird when people like equate these things in like a weird way where they just feel like essentially like movies that disagree with them have like less of a right to exist or
Yeah.
just inherently worse. And it's weird because like I feel like overall it just harms art, you know, like because I feel like people should have the freedom to like express themselves as much as they want to. Like there's some ideas that are like harmful, like when something is straight up propaganda for like some hateful thing that
Yeah.
like it gets kind of muddied there. But most of the stuff we see in media isn't that,
Yeah. Like
you know.
a good example of what he's talking about is how the Dark Knight, it ends like for those of you who have seen the Dark Knight, you guys will know what we're talking about. For those who haven't seen, spoilers, but that movie came out in 2009, so you know, fucking whatever. um at the end of the Dark Knight, Harvey Dent is killed after Batman tackles him off of a building, essentially.
Some would
And
say that's murder, but you know.
yeah, no, dude. Like he doesn't kill him. But yeah, and the whole point of Batman's thing in that movie is that like he thinks that Harvey Dent is like Gotham's like White Knight. He feels that that Harvey Dent can clean up Gotham better than he can, and he doesn't even have to wear a mask or beat any beat up any criminals.
Yeah, or like go outside the law.
Yeah, like but because of what the Joker does, like he what the Joker's thing is in that movie is that like he believes that no one is incorruptible, and and he proves that by making like Harvey Dent into someone who is out like for revenge after his girlfriend is killed by the Joker. Like he and I feel like I'm rambling about the Dark Knight like this, like the details of the story. But what the end leads to is that Batman is willing to take the fall for everything that Harvey did, and like he's willing to take the fall for his murder, because like he believes that instead of telling people the truth about like Harvey Dent, that like he went insane and started killing people, that it's better to lie to the people of Gotham because that's the only way that he thinks that they can give people hope. And what The Dark Knight Rises leads to at the beginning of the movie is that the police is more militarized and they cleaned up crime like that, which is
because essentially the Dark Knight's whole statement is that like people need a symbol of justice and like law, not what Batman is. Batman is like outside the law.
Yeah, Batman's a vigilante, right?
Yeah, the movie concludes that Joker, the antagonist is right, and like the system is flawed and bad. And the movie concludes that the way you fix that is to lie to the people and tell them that the broken system works actually. And it's just kind of painful.
Yeah, and obviously that's not something that we personally agree with, but The Dark Knight is still a very like well-written film as far as its characters, and it's a very well-directed film. It's got a good soundtrack from Hans Zimmer. It's a great movie with some interesting things to say about society that we might not agree with, but no matter what, it's still a movie that Christopher Nolan made and has every right to make. Yeah. And what we're trying to say is that everybody has a right to tell any kind of story that they want or that they feel people will relate to, and that also comes down to like representation and of any marginalized group of people. But the issue that we're talking about is when there is, say, a woman as the lead role, and people seem to be upset because it's a woman, not because it's like a badly written movie or anything. And there is a difference. There is a line that some people don't cross. Like my best example is Captain Marvel. That is a Marvel movie that came out a little while ago. It stars like Brie Larson, and Samuel L. Jackson, and I don't think it's a very good movie. I think it's bad. I think the characters are boring and empty, and that the plot itself is just really uninteresting. The action scenes don't have any weight to them because the main character never really feels like that she's in any real danger. But before the movie even came out, I had nothing to say about it. But a lot of other people on the internet did.
Yeah, because they decided that because they didn't like Brie Larson and her personal politics, that the movie was just going to be like pandering SJW, like trash.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, it was. Because to be fair, all the Marvel movies are kind of just like pandering to a specific audience.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of the problem that I want to get into, where it's like these people, like, they're upset because they feel like certain choices, like diversity choices, are like forced upon like the writers or the creators, and they're like inauthentic, but one, there's no way of knowing if the casting choice was like a forced, like, diversity casting.
Yeah.
Or whether they just thought that actor was like the best actor.
Yeah.
For the role. But the thing is, like, Hollywood does this in like everything. Like, there's a bunch of decisions that are made behind the screen that you never know about, or like even think about, because they're not as obvious as like a character who was white in the comics now being black, Yeah. That could affect the quality of the film. But again, people don't talk about that because, like, those are like imperceivable unless you were there. You can't really say anything about it.
Yeah.
You don't know that they exist, but it's just essentially they attach themselves to the aesthetics of like these decisions and what meaning they might have, and it's very like you have to make a lot of guesswork, and it's kind of pointless in the end.
Yeah.
Like unless you can prove why this character being brown actually makes the movie worse, you're kind of just being racist.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I'm like another example is the Shawshank Redemption, where Morgan Freeman's character in the book was white, but in the movie he's a black man. Is that somehow like forced diversity, or they just think that Morgan Freeman is a good fucking actor?
Like Morgan Freeman was like interested in the script, and they were like, "Holy shit, we can have Morgan Freeman in
our
movie."
Like
it's.
And there are examples of shows or movies that handle the subject matter of representation in a very bad way. And
yeah, they use it as a marketing tool.
Yeah, like Batwoman.
Or like the aesthetics of it. You know?
Batwoman is I don't know if any of you watch the CW superhero shows like The Flash, Arrow, like Supergirl, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, like whatever. But Batwoman is a very special case because it's kind of just a really bad show, but not because of the things that we're talking about, but that is just another one of its issues. Like, the way it markets its character is that, like if you saw the trailer, like, they have a moment where Batwoman is about to make like her bat suit, and the guy that made it is like, that this suit is perfect. It's and like she says the suit will be perfect once it fits a woman.
Yeah, and this is just like the surface level, like aesthetic, like liberal feminism, because it's about just like saying that women should be like there's no substance to like really what that show does.
It's not empowering.
Yeah,
like it's
just kind of about like, look, we care about women. Our protagonist is a woman. She's a strong woman who doesn't care about men's opinions. It's like this very like
and all of and a lot of the male characters in that show are just kind of either non-existent or they're just incompetent, and they're written to be that way in order to elevate the female characters.
But again, not in like a, because there's ways you could do stuff like that in like an interesting like narrative way, but like it's just like Batwoman. It's hard to even criticize Batwoman on how it portrays feminism because that show fails on like so many other levels, like. But yeah, it's just like it takes the aesthetic of like feminism and empowering women to like just market itself.
Yeah.
But it's not actually trying to like further any conversation about feminism.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. It's just kind of there for the like aesthetics.
Yeah, and a better example of like what I think is a very powerful like female empowerment story is Mulan, an animated Disney movie that came out back in 1998. It's about a girl who has uh, the weight of society's standards, like forced on her. She's supposed to wear makeup. She's supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be able to pour tea correctly.
Yeah, like she
and
has to
shit.
conform
Like she has to.
to their gender norm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While there's a war that's happening, and all of the men, they have to get drafted and be soldiers, but um but Mulan's father is getting old and he's like crippled, but he's the only man in the house, and if he goes into war, he will like surely die.
Mm-hmm.
So Mulan makes the decision to pretend to be a man and take her dad's place. And when it starts off, she's not very strong. She's not a warrior, and she kind of looks a little pathetic in front of all of the other actual like soldiers.
Yeah, but she
But
proves herself.
yeah, she proves
throughout the
herself
movie.
over time. She gets actually strong. She actually learns like how to be a good soldier, and not because like she's the chosen one or she already had those abilities.
Yeah.
We're laughing because we'll get to that, but
Remakes, baby.
yeah, remakes. But yeah, like she gets this strong because
Like she
because
puts
her
in the work.
character,
She has the determination.
yeah, and her character is very like resourceful and and clever, and like she finds interesting ways to deal with um the problems that she faces, not because she's just better than everybody else, but because she thought of something that only her character like would have thought of. And an alternate example on the other side of the spectrum would be the Mulan remake, the live action one, where instead of her being this very like cunning like character that works hard and, and improves herself, she just has chi and all these special abilities, and there's nothing that she actually has to do because she's already better than all of the other soldiers.
Yeah.
And she kicks an arrow into the main bad guy, and it's
Yeah, and I haven't even seen
I haven't
the remake, but yeah, I feel like that addition, that simple addition of her being this chosen one, instead of someone who like worked towards what she has, kind of diminishes what that story originally was.
yeah.
But like, I can't really say much to the remake because
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I also haven't actually seen it, so
Yeah,
I
let's
guess
move
that
on.
I guess that makes me a bad person for giving my opinion on a movie that I haven't seen, but a lot of the talking points just kind of really turned me off, and I kind of know, like, I've seen the original Mulan, and I kind of had no intention of watching the remake, so I just wanted to know everything about it, and
Yeah.
and a lot of it is just really disappointing. But
Yeah.
let's
You do that more than me. Well, like you'll read a lot about a movie before you watch it.
I like going in as
Well-
blind as possible.
yeah, and that's something that I do because I'm just interested in what's
Yeah.
like surrounding it, and I don't do it for every movie. Like if there's just a movie that I'm interested in, I'm just gonna go see it without really like knowing anything
Yeah.
about it. Like like Parasite. I didn't know anything about that movie. I thought it was gonna be a horror movie just because of the title,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. It's just a drama.
Yeah, like sometimes I don't even like watching some trailers because
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of trailers, especially for like action movies and stuff, they'll just straight up spoil the movie in the trailer,
Yeah.
and I always hate that shit. So like once I've decided that I'm gonna watch the movie already, like I just don't watch any more media on it until I've seen it. You know.
But yeah.
But yeah, and you're probably thinking that we kind of went on a tangent, and we did.
Podcasts are for
That happens. Tangents, rabbit holes. But yeah, our point is basically like, all right. Let me give another example. Cobra Kai. It's a continuation of the original like Karate Kid movies with Ralph Macchio and everything, and this girl, like she's like a big like girl, and like she's pretty strong, so she went into the Cobra Kai like dojo and became a student. But one of the boy students was like, "Oh, well, she can't be in this like karate dojo. She's a girl," and she ends up beating his ass, and the sensei says she's perfect, and I've seen YouTube comments of a lot of people thinking that that's pandering to SJW politics because a girl was shown as strong and beat up a guy and prove the guy wrong, and it's like,
yeah,
and it's such a, it's annoying to see this kinds of stuff because a lot of these people will start off their like points with, "Oh, I'm not sexist. Oh, but I'm not racist." But
yeah,
and then say something that feels kind of sexist or racist.
Yeah, and like the problem with like the depictions of political stuff in like media is because like the reason a lot of things do just the like aesthetic like kind of pandering towards one side or the other is because like most people's relationship with politics, it's kind of an aesthetic one. Like most people don't really think about like the nuances of politics. They're just either a Democrat or a Republican, you know, like if they vote
on the left or
they vote
the right.
blue or red.
Yeah.
Like they don't really think about the specifics really. And the thing is like politics is super complicated and it's in everything.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Like a lot of people feel like politics like being in media is this new thing that's been happening, but not because it is a new thing, because politics have been in all kinds of different media for literally like since the beginning of time of humanity, like since the beginning of art.
Yeah, but the reason people like are thinking that now is because they know the like political shorthand for certain like they know the feminist talking points, they know the right-wing talking points. They don't really care about the deeper like politics. So when they hear things or see things that align with the like outward appearance of certain political parties, they see that as political. You know, they don't see a war movie they watched in the 70s that's very clearly an anti like Vietnam War movie as political, because they don't have any political affiliation with the Vietnam War because they didn't grow up during that time, or like they don't care about that stuff. They just see like the SJW talking points as like political.
Yeah.
They don't. Again, it's too many people I feel like focus on the aesthetics and like not what something being political really means.
Yeah, like say that a movie or a TV show or even a video game has a gay or a black character or even a trans character in it, and to a lot of people, oh, now it's political. They had to make it political. But
yeah, it's like me and Mikey were talking about not too long ago.
Mikey's a good friend of ours, by the way.
Yeah, of Prototype 2, and he brought this up to me. I didn't know, but it's like one of the last like AAA titles where you like have to play as a black man. Whereas like there's a lot of games now where it's like you have the option to.
Yeah, like.
But that was like one of the only games at the time where it's like the main character was a like created character, not like a custom one, and who happened to be black. But one of the things I remember from that game was the backlash it got from certain individuals because you play as a black man. And the thing is, at the time, a lot of people were just saying, no, I'm just upset that I don't get to play as Alex. You know, I want to play as the guy who I played
in the
first game. You know? But it's clear that the game direction, like where they wanted to take that game, was just, you know, you're seeing that world through a different person's like perspective. And I'm sure a lot of people were just upset that they didn't get to play as this guy they got attached to in the first game. But there was a lot of racist comments, a lot of racist backlash, and like literal hate groups that were like calling to boycott the game.
Prototype 2, yeah.
And, you know, it's shit like this where it's like, some people like to like blur the lines, but in certain situations, it's pretty clear what's really upsetting people, you know? And it's like, it's a conversation that not a lot of people want to have because they tend to take like opinions on art they're attached to and stuff like very personally. And they do the same with like, I guess, opinions, you know, where it's like, now if I say that like a lot of racist people didn't like Prototype 2 for racist reasons, people that didn't like Prototype 2 for more like legitimate reasons like gameplay problems they tend to get on the defensive, especially like on places like Twitter. And it's like, if this doesn't like pertain to you, then there's no need to get defensive.
Yeah, and
you know
the only reason that they would get defensive is if they were like harboring those same thoughts but aren't open about it.
But that's the thing. It's not always the case. It's just they hold their opinions so, like on certain media like so personally that when they feel it's being attacked, they feel like they're being attacked. So even if they don't necessarily hold those opinions, like they get defensive, and it just like muddies the waters for conversations, and it makes shit really unclear.
And it's not just with art, it's on pretty much anything that people talk about on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I think that would like really like loop us back into art analysis, and specifically about objectivity in art, because there's been a growing idea that you can analyze art objectively, and one of the YouTubers that popularized this lately is a YouTuber named Mauler, and he's somebody that I have watched a lot within the past year or so, and what he promotes is that he's trying to create a singular standard that everybody can use to measure the objective quality of media and stuff. And
like, I'm thinking specifically like movies, right?
Movies and video games.
Okay.
Yeah, like he's done a lot more like gaming stuff in the past, but lately he's just been focusing on movies. Like he's rarely uploaded stuff on his own like YouTube channel for a while, and has mostly been focusing on his podcast channel called it stands for Every Frame a Pause, or EFAP for short. And he's an interesting character, to say the least. So the idea that you can apply a singular standard to art is nonsense, because standards are inherently subjective, because nobody will operate on one standard for anything unless it's like something like building a machine where a machine has to abide by
Yeah.
certain things. It has to reach a certain level of objective quality because it's a machine and not art.
Yeah, it's like the example that I like to use is like with a chair.
Yeah.
It's like if you are trying to build a chair for like this function that chairs normally are, where it's like to sit on, like things like its structural integrity and comfort might be like objective thing, like things you can like measure. But let's say I make a chair that's very feeble and it can only hold like a pound of thing, like of weight, but my intention for that chair was to be a piece of art to look nice. That standard that normally like rests like is there for what number chairs like doesn't apply anymore, because like I didn't create that to be sat on. It's supposed to look nice.
And if you sit on it, it might break.
Yeah.
And you might be able to say that, oh, that chair was terrible.
You know?
But
And even like that specific standard, even when you're talking about craft, like things are very specific to like their intention, essentially. But a lot of times with art, you don't always know the intention. So like you can't really use that as like your basis for a standard, because that means then you essentially won't be able to objectively criticize any art that the artist doesn't tell you the intention for. But also like artist's intention isn't always going to be the most important thing with like someone's enjoyability of it. It's like quality in some of the crafts that go into like the film. You know, there's like it's a very nuanced thing, and trying to apply like one standard will require you to like simplify a bunch of shit that you can't really do if you want a like detailed assessment of something.
yeah, and in Mauler's case, what he likes to do with his movie reviews is like he will both review the movie and summarize the film at the same time, and he will analyze scenes like from the script directly, and he will explain the issues that like he has with a scene in each scene, and it can prove to be rather verbose and very like he makes very long videos, like he has a 5-hour review on a movie called Star Wars The Last Jedi, and it's split into 3 videos, each video being an hour and a half long, and
Which like isn't inherently like a problem. I
There's-
feel like the problem with his like format is the fact that he reviews it while summarizing it like scene per scene, because he ends up being very redundant. Like he makes a lot of the same points over again because like certain scenes that don't happen like chronologically, he has the same gripes with. So like he'll end up saying the same thing like multiple times in slightly different ways. So like the length ends up feeling kind of unnecessary
yeah,
if he just condensed it to like the individual points rather than doing it chronologically.
yeah, it's
But,
it's
you know-
it's not really a criticism that like he makes videos that are too long. It's more
Yeah.
a criticism of his structure, because I watch a lot of YouTubers that make long form videos, but they still manage to keep a pretty concise point on what they're
Yeah,
on what they're trying to say.
Every portion of the video feels like necessary. There's a lot of times, like in the few videos I've seen of Mauler, there just seems to be like I said before, like a lot of just redundant statements, like where it's like, yeah, you kind of already said that, you're just saying it again.
And sometimes like he'll go on tangents like mid video because it's a long video, so I guess he feels that he has the time to talk about this kind of stuff. And a lot of the times it can be informative, where like he'll go into something that may not be directly relevant to his main point, but like he'll give people something to think about, and then like he'll explain later like why that was relevant. Yeah. It doesn't always work out that way because he'll go on tangents that will absolutely have nothing to do with what he's talking about, but because he just feels like talking about it because a lot of it,
it's like clearly entertaining to his audience. Like you like his videos.
Yeah, I personally have been entertained by a lot of like his videos and stuff, and I think he's like charismatic at times. He writes some funny like jokes in his videos, and at times I think his analysis can be very informative. It's like Mauler is a YouTuber that I definitely attribute a lot of my interest in movie analysis, like where I've come since then. But the idea that there is one standard that you can apply to everything just doesn't like make any sense, and he doesn't always abide by this rule anyway, because he himself has his own standards that not everyone else has. Like he likes like a show like Buffy the Vampire Slayer because he thinks it's like very well written and has like strong like characterization and stuff, but he doesn't care for a show like Daredevil, which also has very like good writing and strong like characterization. He just doesn't like care for it. Why? Well, he just doesn't like it, and that's perfectly fine. But then he goes on and makes videos about how he's objectively analyzing something, and he's inconsistent at times. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
And I think it's important to like state what Mauler believes is like an objective opinion, like an objective like assessment.
Yeah.
He just believes that as long as you're basing your opinion on things that are like
in the script,
and not how you felt, that is quote unquote
objective.
Like objective.
Yeah.
And the problem with that, it's like removing like emotive language from your assessment doesn't remove the bias, which is the problem with his idea of what objectivism is. It gives the illusion that it's like closer to like reality because it doesn't have any overtly like emotive language or clear like states of like feeling, like statements of feeling, but there's still an inherent bias to whatever value judgment you're giving the art. And all the objectivism like lens does is cloud it and make it seem like it's not there. When it's still there, you just made it less clear to see what the bias is. Like,
yeah.
And like one of the notes that I have here, give me a sec. Yeah, he says, we all have a narrative, Mine's just trying to get to the logical baseline of every element in a script under an objective writing standard. So I provide you with references, and our research, in my opinion, is really relevant because I have to follow what I see and heard. I wrote this horribly. But yeah. But then later in the video, he says, and if you don't consider an objective standpoint to be a narrative, you might be able to understand that it essentially means you lack a narrative. Yeah. Which is like, no. Again, you just clouded your narrative, hid it in this like weird objective standard. Like your bias is still there. You're just making it less clear to perceive because you didn't say I hated this scene. You said this scene has dark lighting.
And this scene is bad.
So it's bad. Like, you know?
Yeah. Or this scene doesn't make sense in context with another scene, so it's bad. But
yeah,
the reason why this all kind of falls apart is because of what I've been saying earlier, is that nobody operates on one standard, and even if you're trying to create a standard,
yeah,
even only the people that agree with you are going to follow it.
Yeah. And the thing is, like...
And, like, he claims that this makes, like, his whole, like, community not an echo chamber, but that's kind of exactly what it creates, is an echo chamber.
Because it's, like, I'm sure they disagree on some, like, you know, on overall, like, assessments on certain things, but they're still using kind of, like, the flawed, like, standard.
Yeah.
Because like, the thing is, they're all still applying their own standard. They're just removing emotive language from the assessment. Like, it's a big problem where it's like, because again, this whole debate started a long time ago. We're getting into this real late. But like, Patricia Taxon, in her video, she brings up how, like, in arguing with this over like a few years, or I think it was like a year in her case, like over these points and stuff, that people that claim to be on the same side were arguing from different positions because they didn't seem to understand what each other believed. Like, they've decided that they believe the same thing, that objectivism means the same things to them, but they're describing different concepts, you know?
Yeah.
And it's, again, that comes from the fact that, like, they're just inherently, like, hiding their bias. So it's very difficult to actually pinpoint, you know, kind of what they're saying at times, especially when they're defending things. Like, there's a lot of, like, moving of goalposts or just not clearly stating certain things.
Yeah. Like, there's another YouTuber that's an associate of Mauler's, and his name is Evan Monroe, and his video on why, like, he feels that art is objective and stuff, and that you can objectively view art, is not only much shorter than Mauler's, but he's arguing from a slightly different, like, he's, like, the points that he makes are not the same as Mauler's.
Yeah. They have the same, like, base reason for why they want, like, an objective, like, standard or whatever. Which, like, I agree with them on this thing where it's like, I feel like when it comes to art assessment, there tends to be this, like, correlation just in the way people, like, either write their scripts or say things. So it's sometimes hard to discern where the subjective and the objective, like, ends.
Yeah,
you know?
Like,
and I agree that could be confusing at times, and I feel like trying to reach like a clearer, like universal like language we can use when it comes to art assessment to make it clearer when these differences are happening is important. But I don't think the objectivism lens does that. It just like I've said before, it just kind of clouds it and makes it harder to see what the bias is. Because like Mauler's right, whereas like everyone has a narrative. But that's not like inherently bad to art assessment unless you're trying to like hide your narrative or pretend like it's something else.
Yeah.
You know?
There are
which the objectivism lens just inherently does with like kind of how it plays around with language.
Yeah.
You know?
And in Mauler's case, like the reason that he started like making videos is because of like he felt that a lot of like content creators on YouTube were dishonest and inconsistent, and he just felt that he was tired of the YouTube landscape becoming so vapid and how like movie discussion in his like point of view lacked like substance. But it's weird, like he feels that like his videos add more substance by removing the emotional aspect and the subjective aspect of art, but it doesn't do that.
You know? On the surface level, you know, it's a more logical assessment because again, it doesn't have the emotive language. But no matter how much of the emotive language you remove, the moment you put a value judgment on a piece of art, your inherent bias as a person is going to affect that assessment. So it is a subjective one, regardless of whether in your explanation of that assessment you remove emotive language, you know?
Yeah.
And like another thing that I've noticed in this community is like they'll like specifically like Jack Saint.
Yeah.
They'll like disregard some of his videos, just them the basis of like the thumbnail and the title. Like I think it was the Smudcast guys.
Yeah.
They memed about his like
the Smudcast is like a podcast that's similar to Mauler's podcast, except they're not quite as good.
Well, yeah. But the thing is, like, they dismiss this video because it's like, oh, like, Sky High is eugenics propaganda, and they just see that as like, oh, that has a clear narrative. They have, and that's like inherent bias.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's not a problem.
Yeah. No.
Because he's not hiding the narrative of the video. It's in the title. The video is proving that Sky High is eugenics propaganda. And if you watch it, like, it is.
Yeah, like...
It's clearly not the intention of the writers to be that, but it has all the properties of eugenics propaganda.
that you can, like, reasonably interpret. And
exactly.
But a lot of these people, like Mauler, think it's this bad thing that people can
like,
take something and interpret something that they might not have interpreted from a movie or something. Like they think that that like whatever's in the script is trying to say one thing and one thing only, and that any interpretation that's different is like somehow like made up and it's not valid.
Yeah, like anything that falls out like outside of the script is just like emotional conjecture.
Like
whatever,
he
but it's
thinks that the fact that you can interpret anything from a lot of things is like somehow like harmful to discussion
Yeah.
about movies.
Yeah, because one of the, I'm not gonna read it, but like one of the, I'm gonna paraphrase it, but he basically makes a point how like if we just looked at art in the like just subjective way, that it's essentially like everyone gets a participation trophy, which is like
Yeah, it's because
that's
essentially
not what people are saying.
essentially like Mauler thinks that that if we look at art subjectively, that like we are not acknowledging the skill or talent it takes
Yeah.
to make something compelling
Mm-hmm.
or art like or make something that is good and recognize like the skill that when involved like but that is not true.
Yeah, it's like he makes another point where it's like, oh, if it's all subjective, why go to school and like learn about it? Why like try to hone your craft? Like, and it's like, it's the thing that I said earlier where it's like, learning like to hone your craft and like do art, quote unquote, better. It's not to like make objectively better art. It's to better articulate whatever it is you want to put out there.
Yeah.
You know? Like learning how to write dialogue will help you write clear dialogue that helps you get across the point that you want to get in said dialogue.
Yeah.
But taking two pieces of dialogue from like different films, there's no like standard you can apply to both to see which one is like objectively better. When you know like the specific goal of one or the other, you can assess whether it achieved that goal, which is again what Mauler thinks like quality is, which is like how well it reaches a standard, like how well like something achieves a preordained standard. But the problem comes in where it's like,
there is
which standard?
Because there is no singular standard. Like again, and we're
and it kind of loops back to that, and there's more thoughts that I have, essentially on like what this mindset kind of does to art, but I feel like it's stuff that I need to think on more, and kind of why I'm like doing this podcast, because like I want to get better at articulating my points and like kind of exploring these ideas. So
and
this is gonna be a learning process.
And we also just want to share our interesting movie opinions, even if you don't care.
Yeah, but like honestly, for me, this is mostly like like a venting thing, just getting my opinion out there. But like, I feel like I've gotten like out generally how I feel about this, but it's like I hope that in the future I can look back at this and like see exactly how I can just articulate this better and make like a more like concise like video essay thing on my opinions on this, because like it's a bit rambly like right now.
Yeah, because that's what a podcast is. Like, you know, we're stuttering a little bit, we're pausing, we're saying, well, what? But, yeah.
I'll edit out the worst ones.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but yeah, and I kind of just want to talk about other movies and stuff that, like, really speaks to us. And, like, and we can also talk about, like, what makes, like, comic books so cool to us. Cause
like for me, like I told you about this all the time, like it's just the visual medium is very important to me. Like I'm a writer, like that's what I'm good at, but like I can never imagine myself like just writing a novel, because I need that like visual part, you know, which is why I'm writing a comic, you know, but I can't draw, so I gotta pay someone else for that.
Yeah, and I'm not like much of a writer. I'm more of an artist. I like to draw a lot, and that's kind of how we kind of like bounce off of each other. Like he kind of has an idea, I can kind of visualize that idea and explain how it would be better, and we just kind of, go off of that. Where like he's in the process of writing a comic book, and he's writing.
I started the script,
and he's writing a lot of like short stories that
I haven't finished any of. But
But he will. He will finish them. He will.
Yeah.
And I also have a lot of ideas about like comic books and stories that I want to write, and I kind of find myself imagining these ideas in the form of a show or a movie or like an animated movie, and I feel like I feel like I'll end up like writing a comic book and illustrating it, and like my dream one day is to have that comic book as Netflix's new original, and but if that doesn't happen, I'll just be happy if like 5 people that I know read it and they say it's cool.
Yeah, no, like that's the thing I told you, is like if I get to make like my comic and like actually like have a like online print of it or whatever, like once it's out there, like I don't really care like the amount of audience it gets. Same thing with this like podcast, like for me, like if one person reads my comic and enjoys it, that's enough. I don't care.
Yeah, like when we were in the process of making this podcast, like we had like 2 people just say like, hey, like we're interested in this, like let us know, and like that was enough to get us going and make this, and I also just want to talk about like what it means for me to be invested in something that I like, and I'm gonna use Daredevil as an example, the Netflix series, just to be very but
What, you don't like the Ben Affleck movie?
I have some very complicated feelings about that movie, and we'll talk about it one day. But I haven't even watched it yet, but I've seen quite a bit of it.
What, you've never watched?
No, I've never watched the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, but I have watched like 2 reviews on it. And it's
we gotta watch it, man.
Yeah, we're gonna watch it someday. We're gonna watch a lot of movies in.
It's one of the funny bad ones.
Yeah. I'm sure it is. But yeah, the Daredevil Netflix series is this neo-noir action, like crime, like drama, and especially the first like season, it definitely evokes that like neo-noir feel. In like a lot of the ways it's directed, and the color grading and like the shot composition and its setting like as well, like, but then it also has like these very like human feeling like characters, and a lot of the scenes are not just fight scenes, it's just 2 characters somewhere just talking about whatever, and it feels very real, like these characters have emotions, and they have different like things that's like unique to that like character's like personality, and like things that they would say, and like how they would react in certain like situations. It's that stuff that really makes me invested in like a movie or a TV show.
I feel like that's where me and you differ on like what art is like really compelling to us, because you like the stuff that's more like grounded and realistic in like a really gritty way.
Yeah,
but I feel
and it's not always that way. Like I do like some like high end like a little like stuff like stuff that's like really out there, like God, what's something that we've watched that's like really out there, like and not very like grounded.
Well, yeah, that's the thing I was gonna say, is like for me it's like
I can't
usually the thing that's like compelling to me is when
like,
there's like a high fantasy like element to it that is an allegory for something like
that's
real
more relatable.
and deeper. you know. But yeah, like
Yeah.
Tenet in and of itself was like your favorite movie right now.
Yeah,
Seen like
Tenet
80 times.
is super, like, Tenet is incredible. Like, it's probably like the most high concept, like like more fantasy thing that I've ever watched. But it's very, but because it's directed by Christopher Nolan,
It's still very like
it's viewed through a very like grounded lens. Because
yeah.
if you like like the first hour or so doesn't have very much fantasy elements, but the concept of the film is time inversion and inverting different objects to move backwards in time. And once that takes, like, once the characters understand how all that works and it becomes a much more important aspect of the story, that's when the movie gets really insane.
Wait. I just thought of something.
What?
In the beginning of the movie, when she's explained to him.
Oh, this is super spoilers for Tenet, by the way.
Yeah. But when she's explained to him what inversion is, and she's like showing him how to like catch the bullets.
Yeah.
Could you like be inverted using like a non-inverted gun like.
Well, the thing is that like whatever is on you will get inverted along.
Yeah, because
with
they can
you.
like drive a car that's not inverted and stuff.
Yeah,
But they never. I don't think they ever show
weird,
someone who's inverted use like a gun that's not inverted. But they just show the other way around.
But they do show when the protagonist gets inverted and like he has to drive a car that's like not inverted, and it's weird.
Yeah, because she says like the wind resistance is like reversed and like yeah. So
and
it's
the
like
steering
she's like struggling.
is reversed. Yeah. Tenet is a really like a like complicated film.
Yeah,
and
but I'm saying it's like what I was originally saying was like your favorite movie and like my favorite movies
are
very
yeah.
like you like the Mission Impossible series.
Yeah,
and like Christopher Nolan movies.
Yeah, I
which
fucking
are
love
like
Mission Impossible, by the way.
Like Mission Impossible is like the action's very over the top, but it's still like realistically grounded.
Yeah, like
just like espionage stuff.
Like we just got done watching Mission Impossible Fallout, and the ending scene, like,
it's insane.
It's pretty insane. Yeah. Like a helicopter has like a hook on it, and they're like falling down a mountain, and the hook keeps getting caught on like different parts of the rock, and like they kick something and it almost falls off the edge when it totally would have fallen off the edge of it. Like there's a lot of shit that happens in Mission Impossible movies that you can just kind of wave away as like, you know, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, where it's like it's unrealistic,
but it's
sometimes impossible. But the way the movie portrays it, the way the movie kind of portrays the stuff is in like this grounded, like realistic way, you know?
Yeah, a lot of the situations in the movie, like the stuff that happens that's not like realistic, doesn't affect it doesn't affect the movie, because like while the movie is shown in a realistic lens, it's not treating this as like, and neither is the director or any of the writers involved. They're not pretending that this is super realistic, and like and like a better example of this would be like the Fast and Furious franchise, and where that series is going
not grounded.
Yeah, those are not grounded, and they know that they're not grounded. Like halfway like through the series, like Fast 5 is where they realized, this is like, these are just gonna be like it's no more about like street racing. It's like big ass like heist movies, insane like car stunts that you could never do in real life.
Yeah,
a lot of just insane shit that just wouldn't happen, but they know this and they execute it in this way.
Yeah, because it's about experiencing that like high fantasy action.
Yeah.
Not about portraying like a realistic thing. And it's like, I don't like those movies.
Yeah.
But it's not really because of that. It's many other things.
Yeah.
But what I was getting at is that but you compare like your favorite movies
Yeah.
to like my
To
favorite
yours.
movies,
Like say a
which
couple
are
of your
like
favorite movies. Like
2001 on like space, like Odyssey,
yeah.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World, David Lynch movies, where it's like they're very not grounded in reality.
Yeah.
Like 2001: A Space Odyssey is like the closest one, but then like at the end of the movie, there's just like this mind fuck thing of like a character ascending
Yeah.
like through dimensions and becoming a omnipotent baby.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know,
Yeah.
like those are the movies that are like emotionally resonant with like me. I'm saying, like it's like
yeah.
we tend to have the similar opinions on like which movies we like and stuff.
Yeah.
But like again, like the stuff that like on a higher level like resonates couldn't be
Yeah.
any more different.
Yeah, it's different. Like
you know.
Well. And there's like some moments like where we do like this like high fantasy thing like Berserk, like
Yeah.
Berserk it's a dark fantasy like action manga, and it's not grounded in reality. The characters are written to be like very like realistic and human, but a lot of the stuff that happened in the world are very like fantastical and like based in fantasy.
But honestly, like elements like that aren't even the ones that I mean when I mean like realistic and grounded, because like as high fantasy as like Berserk is, it has its own set of rules.
Yeah, no, like
what I mean like when I mean like really like ethereal shit is like David Lynch movies
it's
don't even have like an internal logic.
To be
You know what I mean?
honest, I just haven't watched that many movies that operate that way. I still have yet to watch a single David Lynch film. But the
You
idea
gotta watch
that,
Eraserhead.
yeah, like we can watch that at some point.
It's
But
really weird, but it's good.
like a lot of my favorite movies like right now are like if I can think of like a movie with like more like less realistic is like Back to the Future, which is like you know very like classic like time travel movie.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies too.
Yeah, and but I haven't, and that movie like has its own like rules that it follows. Like I definitely find myself attracted to movies that have some sort of logical consistency that it follows, and it doesn't matter that the concept is like real world shit or like something that's magic related or like or like a lot of like Christopher Nolan movies have an aspect of them that definitely like wouldn't exist in the real world, but some of his like take Inception, like for example, that movie is a heist movie where you infiltrate people's like dreams and steal information that way, and like that's just, and like they're not really like they're like the way that he writes his movies is that this is simply an aspect of the world that that like he made, and all of the characters know this and accept it, and like
the rules are like explained.
And the rules are explained, and it's so you don't have to like suspend your like disbelief, because this is just what it is. And like, and usually it doesn't matter to me. Like it could be like The Prestige, where like a lot of it is like grounded in reality, but the magical part of that movie is like the teleportation aspects,
and again, like,
and that's
I
grounded.
explained it to you before.
It
was like it is like a fantasy element, but that is based on like actual science, like quantum physics and shit.
And that's cool. Like that's like it's really awesome, but like
it's not like possible right now, but you know.
And like something that I have a bit of a strain like a bit of a strained relationship with is Star Wars, where I really like the original like trilogy because I think it's very like well written and stuff. I like a lot of the characters and I like how the Force is utilized. But in later movies, I feel like because the Force is such a nebulous like concept, it's made it very easy for like whatever writer is in charge to use it in a way that I personally just don't find very
Like
compelling. And this is
Yeah.
where me and Kevin have had arguments about Star Wars The Force Awakens because of how the main character learns the Force in that movie. Like, she's a very powerful, like, Force user, and she tends to just kind of intuit certain abilities and stuff. When like, like, I personally, like, feel more attached to a character that, like, takes time and learns stuff, and, like, I get to see them struggle with a certain thing that they want to learn, like, how to do. And that's why it's so interesting, like, when I watched Luke Skywalker in the original movies, where, like, yeah, like, he has the potential to be a strong, like Force user, but he doesn't really have a teacher the whole time, and he has to pick up things on his own, and he's not very good at it, and, like, he's struggling. Like, they make it a big deal in The Empire Strikes Back when he's simply just trying to pull, like, his lightsaber like to him. But in The Force Awakens, Rey is just kind of able to do stuff, and we don't really get to see her struggle with it.
Yeah, but I feel like
Yeah, like,
this is where the conversation
like, explain your
gets more complex.
Like-
It's like it's a soft magic system
yeah
that like doesn't. When you're working with a soft magic system that doesn't really have any like concrete rule, like what you're supposed to do like as a writer to make sure that certain things are compelling is like make sure that things aren't used like as in like ex machina, like just a thing to get the characters out of certain like writing dead ends you like put them into,
yeah
you know. And I feel like The Force Awakens does a lot of like legwork in the writing to make sure that it is very clearly portraying the emotional state of certain individuals,
yeah
and showing how that affects their like connection to the Force, because it's kind of always been like that. It's like it's always been very linked to like their emotional like how they're feeling emotionally.
Yeah, like their emotional state.
And that's what The Force Awakens focuses on. Not like really like any training and stuff, because that's just not the focal point of the movie. It's more about like the emotional struggles that each of the characters are like going through and how that affects their standing in the Force, essentially.
Yeah.
But again, it's really complicated.
Yeah, and that's a very and that's a good point, because I kind of learned that that my issue with it isn't the fact that that this character is learning is learning something that's not like she's not like struggling with it. It's more of the fact that I'm not a fan of soft magic systems.
Yeah.
And in some of the ways that they can be used. Like, I like something that has rules,
Like
and
more
that,
grounded.
Yeah, and that makes
Yeah.
it more like it just makes it like more interesting, like for me, like when a writer like has to figure out ways like for something to work like within like rules that they set.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like the Force has never been that.
Yeah, and
You
that's
know?
yeah, but like it's used like differently in each section of the saga. Like the OT, like it uses it that way, but it's just different. Like
It's rarely used to solve problems directly.
yeah,
You know,
like
which is I feel like the main gripe people have, like Rey gets herself out of certain situations using the Force,
yeah,
where it's like it's never that directly implemented to like fix a problem
yeah,
with the original trilogy.
yeah,
It's more of like an aesthetic tool.
yeah.
But
And in the prequel movies, the prequels are a special case. They're
let's not talk about the prequel.
I have a very
Too many thoughts.
I have a very interesting attachment like to the prequel Star Wars movies because I grew up watching them, but Kevin hasn't, and we've been rewatching them recently, and it's been a fun time for me.
I haven't seen the last one.
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been stalling on watching that. He hasn't said it, but he's been stalling on watching Revenge of the Sith.
I like watching good movies. You know.
Oh, what are you saying that that Revenge of the Sith is objectively bad? Like, what are you, a bad person?
No, I'm just saying.
I think you're a bad person, Kevin.
That's just
I think everyone watching this, they're gonna say that you're a bad person.
I just think there's like a 100% guarantee
Oh,
that I'm not gonna enjoy watching that movie.
Well, I guarantee that you'll enjoy watching it more than you enjoyed watching Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace.
Like, the second half of Attack of the Clones was like at least bearable.
Yeah, because none of the character because Anakin wasn't talking anymore.
Yeah.
For like a good chunk of the movie.
And like Padme did things.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Padme is actually like a pretty interesting like character, like as far as the stuff that she can do, and there was just a big action scene happening, and it was pretty cool, honestly.
But
And it's
Phantom Menace and the first half of Attack of the Clones are just like
really boring.
abysmal to sit through. Like it's just
Yeah,
not fun.
like and literally like the only like redeeming aspect of the Phantom Menace is not even like the second half of the movie. It's like the final like half hour of the movie.
Cause like we were drunk, and I was still like,
Yeah, like
what the fuck, dude?
and I was just laughing because of the
Like-
bullshit that was happening in the movie, but it didn't get interesting until the last like fight, and then we watched Attack of the Clones like back to back, didn't we?
Mhm.
Like
yeah, the first two back to back.
yeah,
But then I started sobering up, and I
you're
didn't
like,
want to watch the third one.
yeah, I mean, we'll get there though. We'll get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been talking for a while. We've been saying words for a good amount of time, and anybody who's listening, I'm glad you listened. Art is very important to us. Art analysis is what compelled us to make this video, and like we really hope to get to some more of like focused topics in the future, like what are like some of the stuff that we've like
I know you want to like go over just Christopher Nolan's body of work.
Yeah,
in general.
Like I want to talk about every movie.
I want to do The Matrix.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
like we can do that. We can even do like a video on the Mission Impossible franchise, and like we can even talk about the Marvel movies and the DC movies even.
Bigger oof.
And I'm Eric.
I'm Kevin, and yeah, I'm gonna try to make it like my mission for the next few weeks to improve the quality of this. You know, try to get a noise gate, some sound dampening in my room to just improve the quality. Any suggestions you might have to improving the quality of the thing, let us know.
Or you can also like suggest like a favorite movie or TV show.
Yeah.
And
Any topics?
depending on if we've seen it or not, or if we're like well versed on a particular topic, like we'll keep it in mind and we'll eventually maybe even talk about it or not talk about it. I don't know.
Yeah. Hopefully, we continue this.
This has been the Rusty Shovel podcast.
Yeah. And hopefully there's more episodes to come.